Uh-oh. Welcome to That Crazy Adventure's Six Pistols update. This update has a lot of stuff in it, so without further ado, let's get into it. I think the most important part of the update, bar none, is the overall combat changes. Combat has been changed so dramatically that the update might as well have been called the Combat Overhaul update rather than the Six Pistols update. And the changes to combat feel so much better than the previous game that I was legitimately dreading logging on after I'd played the test server version a few weeks ago. Getting into the nitty-gritty of it, the first thing that was done was the health was overall reduced from 400 to 300. 100 health may not sound like a whole lot, but as we talked about in the damage reduction video, you're also reducing effective health. And so while at face value it looks like we've lost about 100 HP, it's more likely about 130, give or take. Now with the HP changes, the M1 damage as well as the M1 hitboxes have been increased, as well as a change to the M1 animations to make them a little bit more readable. Now it'll be easier to tell when someone's continuing to do an M1 string or if they're using a different move. And it'll also be significantly easier to actually hit your opponents with M1s, so it won't feel like you're trying to hit people with pinpricks when you should be landing attacks. Now once again, the M1 damage combined with lower health is going to reduce fight times and make people die quicker. To try to offset this a little bit and reward skilled play, passive HP regen has also been added. It was technically in the game before, but it was so unbelievably horrible it was never worth getting. Now, if you're doing well in a fight, every single hit that you take is not going to deal permanent damage. So you can afford to be a little bit riskier, considering that every mistake you make isn't going to permanently affect you. Now, once again, to reduce the amount of time that combat takes, as well as just generally make combat readability better and go faster, the range on dashes has been significantly decreased, and the ability to stall in the air with dashes has also been removed. Gone are the days of people jumping up into the air, pressing dash, and doing 360s in a circle around you. It also means that if you're relatively close to your opponent, you don't need to do some awkward spacing where you need to dash at a specific area or you won't get there. In other words, overshooting dashes is going to be extremely rare. And when you combine that with the M1 hitbox increase, once again, it makes hitting people easier, and hitting people feels good. Last thing on dashes is that the invincibility frames on them have been entirely removed. This is another one of those things where it just felt sort of out of place, and using a move and having it directly pass through someone didn't feel good, so it's been axed. In terms of global changes, the last thing that's been changed is projectiles. There was a lot of feedback, and rightfully so, that projectiles felt incredibly inconsistent. The reason for this on the back end was because they were using a system called raycast. Raycast effectively meant that your projectile was a 1-by-1 line that you shot towards your opponent. That's real small. And what it led to is if you weren't pixel perfect accurate, then your projectile would not work. And with how fast people are moving and how many different height variations people can have, on top of ping and way more things, the general consensus was projectiles need to be easier to hit. And now they are. The raycast system has been scrapped, it's been replaced with something that works far better, and overall you should not run into nearly as many instances of projectiles feeling like they pass through people or just not hitting when they feel like they should. All of these changes combine to make an incredibly solid combat system that's legitimately very fun to play. Now in terms of balance, things have also taken a drastic turn here, with there being a huge laundry list of balance changes to almost every stand in the game, it feels like. There's so many on here that it would be pretty much impossible to cover them all, so I'm just gonna pick a few of my favorites. Star Platinum the World's beatdown is actually usable. The 50% HP cap as well as the ridiculous cooldown have been axed, and the damage has been brought down in order to match that. So now you'll actually see Star Platinum the World's beatdown, and it's a usable move in Star Platinum the World's kit, which is badass. C-Moon has seen a variety of changes to make it more of a contender against other stands and less of a weird, janky RNG mess. It used to be that you had to hit Inversion Punch in order to win. The only real way to get Inversion Punch was to awkwardly confirm it off of Center of Gravity, which only worked a very small percentage of the time. And Center of Gravity had a bunch of upgrades that were worthless, and you might as well have not gotten because the enemy would fly out of your range and you wouldn't do to hit them anymore. All of these things have pretty much been thrown out the window. Center of Gravity is now a very strong move, instead of being almost utter garbage. It doesn't launch your opponent way up in the air anymore, making the upgrades worth getting and making the ability generally really strong. On top of Center of Gravity, Hardened version has seen a significant reduce in its cooldown, so it's no longer a move where if you miss it, it's gone for like the entirety of the rest of the match. As a result, it's also lost some of its damage. And finally, thank God, Seamoon's ultimate no longer inflicts screen shake, so I'll no longer get sick if somebody hits me with this move. King Crimson's seen some changes that might push it a little bit over the edge, so this might need some extra balancing. We'll see how things work out. But its iJab got an upgrade, which was intended to be a downgrade, which is part of the reason that I said it probably needs extra balancing, but who knows. iJab is no longer a second stun for King Crimson and is instead a true unparryable block break. This gives King Crimson an incredibly strong option against blocking opponents. As a caveat to that, you're no longer able to use a raced attack on grounded opponents, effectively confirming it the second they stand up. And lastly, Time Erase applies a very small amount of stun after you use it to make it more consistent as King Crimson's, well, main ability. Gold Experience, a stand that I complained about, and for good reason, got nerfs that it heavily deserved. You can't stall with your trees forever anymore, considering that if you use Tree Launch, it despawns basically immediately, and you can't stand on your tree anymore. The Frog move has seen a reduction of the amount of damage that you deal to people when you hit them with it, and most notably, Root Bullet got a massive change. It's no longer a ridiculously long stun, and once again acts like a lock in place. It's very similar to Vampire's Freeze. Speaking of Vampire's Freeze, let's talk Vampire. Vampire was the best spec in the game. It was one of the only things people were using, and it was super lame. Some measures have been taken to put Vampire hopefully in line with the other specs in the game, with more changes planned down the road. Basically, Vampire got band-aided, at least for now. First thing, Vaporization Freeze. Now when you get hit by it, you can turn around, so people won't just be able to sit behind you and hit you over and over again with you able to do nothing about it. The other thing, yeah, that hyper armor on Vaporization Freeze, gone. Thank God. Now you may have noticed that your blood bar now starts empty. This is a change that I don't necessarily agree with because, as I've said earlier, I think the blood bar and all of that stuff needs a total rework, but hopefully that will be coming relatively soon. As for Blood Suck, this move is way better. It is really, really good now. If I remember correctly, I think it deals like 25 damage and heals you for 30, or maybe the other way around, and that's a huge HP swing in a fight. That's almost as impactful as landing a beatdown. It's a massive upgrade from the old Bloodsuck, and hopefully will make it a move that people actually use. Now, like I said earlier, there have been a ton of balance changes. I don't plan to go over every single one of them here, so this is where we're going to stop with the balance changes and move on to the final part of the update, and that part is, of course, Six Pistols. Now, if you know me, you know that I'm no huge fan of Six Pistols, and unfortunately, I can't say I'm a huge fan of this Six Pistols, mostly because it's Six Pistols. In fairness to the developers, it's very hard to make Six Pistols not incredibly obnoxious. You basically have to be, and it caters to people who want to be incredibly obnoxious. So, fair enough. Unfortunately, Six Pistols is a little strong right now. Let's just put it that way. It's been a balancing nightmare on the test server. I will be perfectly transparent with you. Basically, every single ability feels like it's been changed 6 times. We've had problems of M1s being too spammable, so there's no point of using your moves, 2 abilities being too strong, so then there's no point of M1s. And in general, it's just been a mess. Right now, personally, I feel like it's too strong. If you load up all of your pistols with salami and then load them all into one bullet and shoot someone, it does nearly half someone's health. That's insane. Mind you, these things have no cooldown, and you press one button. Now, I brought this to the attention of Feld, the head of staff, and she basically said, it's YBA again, we're gonna release it broken, fix it later. So hopefully, this stuff will get patched within a week after people get tired of dying in 3 shots. Now, when it is ironed out, I think Six Pistols will be a really unique way to play. I think the idea of preparing a really powerful shot or a mediocre shot in order to improve your gameplay rather than just spamming bullets or waiting for cooldowns should be really cool for Six Pistols. I just worry that when you put it into main game and you apply more than one of them, it's gonna get real out of hand real fast. Let's just say there's a reason you can't hit people with more than one redirection barrage in YBA, and hopefully with people being able to hit you with fully loaded, salami loaded pistols, you won't just be running around getting 3-shot over and over again. I think Six Pistols will probably be like a lot of other games where people will mess with it for a little bit and then it will mostly fall to the wayside no matter how good it is, just because people don't care about it and they want to use their favorite stands. But still, Six Pistols is terrifying. It looks cool though, and I think it has a lot of potential once everything's ironed out. Now, one of the other things that's come with the update is a small overhaul to how progression works. As it was before, any rank over rank 10 basically meant nothing. It did nothing for you. For whatever reason, Pity capped out at 0.2, which I've confirmed is not a bug, and so you could do it, but it didn't really do anything for you. That is a thing of the past. Now your rank will reset monthly, and when it resets, you'll get rewards based on how high of a rank you are. So in other words, ranking up past 10 is 100% worth it if you're gonna get pretty far into it. And even if you don't, it's only 5k per rank up, so no big whoop. In general, any reason to log on and get rewarded to play is a good one. And this is one of those things. In conclusion, I don't know how many people this update's going to draw in, but hopefully I've drawn in a few of you guys. Myself, as well as all of the other people on the TCA staff team, have been consistently seeing what you guys have to say about the game and trying to do our best to cater that to your interests. That being said, we can't see everyone's feedback and we can't fix everything. But if you have problems with the update or you think there's things we didn't address, feel free to leave them in the comments below, because I'll be going through most of the comments like I usually do, looking for feedback, and usually Fel, the head of staff, does that as well. With that finishing up though, I don't think I have anything else to say with the update. Get out there and play some TCA, and I hope to see you guys on the battlefields. Have a wonderful day or night wherever you are, and I'll see you guys next time.